For the final time this season, welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. We are here for the Premier League roundup show to round up for the final time what happened, and it was a dramatic final day of the Premier League, and that is an understatement. I'm joined, as always, by Shaun. Shaun, how are you?
Good evening, mate. You good?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Josh is unable to join us tonight, unfortunately, so you're just stuck with us two, unfortunately. Just briefly sum it up. Quite a entertaining final day of the season as they come, you know.
Yeah, it's a bit of fun, wasn't it? I think we've seen. Did I mention it last week? I think it was, in theory, the biggest final day there's ever been, because I think there was like top goal scorer, top assists, Golden Glove, Europa Conference position, top four, title win, all on the line on the final day. Yeah, we had a few little exciting moments, didn't we?
Yeah, we certainly did. We certainly did. Let's get into it then. So what we're going to do, we've picked out the 8 most important games this week, and we're going to go from the bottom of the table up. So we're going to start with the relegation battle, and let's start in London then with Brentford. Brentford 1, Leeds United 2. So Leeds stay up. Obviously, Burnley go down. Thoughts on this game? A bit of a surprise for some people for Brentford to almost end on a loss.
Yeah, our Brentford follower told me that Brentford will go right to the end. Their manager demands it. This is one of the 3 games they showed on the telly, so I was probably like a lot of people flicking between 3 games, like the Tottenham game on my phone, and Brentford they're on the beach. It didn't make no sense to me. I thought they did a professional job of dispatching Everton in the week when Everton went down to 10 and then 9 men, but Brentford just didn't look like they got going. Leeds, in all fairness, they were all right. I wouldn't say they are brilliant. They did all right. Thing is, in Leeds, you know they're going to be full of energy. So if your opposition's on the beach a little bit, then it's going to make Leeds look good. Do you know what I mean? It's just they're one of those sort of sides. I think obviously the results were going. I think we'll get on the Burnley in a minute, but Burnley clawed a goal back. Then I think Brentford equalised. I thought, hang on. Yeah. What's happening here? What I didn't realise, obviously, it wouldn't matter because the draw wouldn't have been enough. But when Brentford equalised, I can't remember the name of the goal scorer, took his shirt off and got booked. And then about 2 minutes later, he jumped in for a tackle and got sent off. By that point, Brentford had used all their subs and someone went off injured. So for the last 10 minutes, they were down to 9 men. So it's been a brilliant final first season for Brentford, but I think there's a bit of a lame end to it, really, unfortunately for them. Leeds, we've covered them quite closely, haven't we, over the season? I think...
With Leeds, do you think, now looking back at it and by the skin of their teeth they've survived, do you think it was the right decision to sack Marcelo Bielsa and bring in Jesse Marsch?
Definitely. They love Bielsa, I know he did. I think driving home today on the radio, because this Jesse Marsch, he might not be the answer, but what he did, because they were going to bring him in when Bielsa probably left at the end of the season anyway. Obviously, the fairy tale would have been they'd been mid-table, he'd have walked away, back to Argentina, and Marsch would have come in. But under Marsch, I think they wanted him to come in because he's still got that high energy way of pressing training. But he brought a little bit of organisation to the back.
Yeah.
Like, Leeds would be... There was no game management under Bielsa. They'd be 2-0 down after half an hour, and they'd be still... Well, I've never seen a team like it, to be honest. You don't see it in any of the leagues. They were just completely open. So it's like, right, we might make it 2-1, but it might be 4-0 in 10 minutes. And sometimes it was 4-0. So, yeah, I think they made the right decision. I think Bielsa was just far too stubborn for the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think the fact that he liked this very thin squad with high octane training, that's going to bring injuries, and that's what they got. But I always, in regular contact with a good Leeds friend, good mate of mine who's a Leeds fan, and what I said to them was, I think now they need to learn from it and get a bit of Premier League know-how, because I think they come up after being away for 18 years or whatever it was. Thought Bielsa was going to do it his way. That was naive there and then. They chucked quite a bit of money at it in the summer, but they bought no one from this country. Do you know what I mean? I think not they were high end. They got the lad from Man City, the little winger, and they got the lad from Man United. Do you know what I mean? I forget. I can't remember what their names are. Harrison, is it? And who's the other one? Who's the Welsh lad they got from United?
Oh, Dan James.
That was 25 million. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was, and then I
I
think they got
think
Lorente, who's like the Spanish. They got Rodrigo. Or when they signed him, my mate was just chucking things at me. Oh, he starts up front for Spain. Oh, he starts at centre back for Germany. But we're talking about a Spanish era again where they haven't really got a striker. Germany have tried about 10 centre backs.
But I think with Leeds, they've now got to sit down at the end of the season and think, right, is Jesse Marsh the way we want to go forward? Is he the guy that's gonna do this revamp and rebuild and try and push up the table next year? We'll have to wait and see. But one team that won't be pushing up the table next year, well, they might be in the Championship, is Burnley. Burnley won, Newcastle 2. I was sad to see this when I walked out of the Brighton Stadium because of our good friend Dan. Yeah, I do wish Leeds went down. Burnley have gone down. They're going to find it very difficult to come back up again with all these payments they've got to pay now.
I was going to say get Dan on and ask him about these payments, but it's probably that'd probably be quite a boring show, really. Bless him. Well, Newcastle, they got the 11th, Newcastle?
Something like that, yeah, 10th, 11th.
They're going to be knocking on the door of the West Ham area, the league table next season. I think that goes without saying. Yeah. Burnley, I think, again, I heard on the radio today. I don't know the details of this, but I can remember reading a tweet a couple of months ago about these new owners that took over Burnley. And I don't know how they've done this, but the deal, I don't know, didn't even make sense. But apparently it was worded like the deal that they struck. Obviously, you get football clubs now, these ones that take risks. A bit like Derby nearly went bust the other week. You get the club name, you buy the name, and then you've got like a holding company that owns different bits and bobs. And apparently the current owners, they borrowed shares or money, believe it or not, out of the football club to buy Burnley FC, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Right. And by the sound of it, now they've gone down, they've got to repay back, was it 60 or 30 million?
Yeah, I think it's 60 million because I watched a bit of Dan's show that he did yesterday, and he was kind of sitting there thinking, well, we've got 60 million to pay, which means we're going to have to, goes without saying, going to have to sell Nick Pope, going to have to sell that Weghorst for however much, they're going to have to sell that Cornet for however much they can get.
I think Cornet's close to go anyway, and I don't know, but it was there's something sounded very dodgy about the new ownership, how they bought the club, and obviously it sounds like they covered their back with all these ridiculous clauses. Just sounds like they didn't eat what they're doing involved in football, one of them bad ones. So they're already saying you're going to expect Burnley now to be struggling at the bottom of the Championship. So there's a major kick in the teeth. I don't know what's gone on. How long has Burnley been in the Premier League? 5-6 seasons, I think it is now. I think they went down once they come back up. I just wonder, they're a club that haven't ever spent any money. They probably, I'm guessing, one of the lowest wages in the league. They didn't back Dyche hardly at all. Dyche would have been on probably peanuts compared to others. Yeah. What have they done with all the Premier League money? I don't know.
But the big question is that I asked you about Leeds is, now with the benefit of hindsight, we were sitting there 2 weeks ago thinking, well, that was a masterstroke sacking Shaun Dyche, bringing this Michael Jackson, whatever his name is. Hindsight now. They want Dyche, don't they?
I think, all like the pundits. It's an easy target to jump on this, aren't they? But it's an obvious one. It was, but Burnley were worse this year than they have. They've been slowly getting worse and worse. But you would have backed Dyche to give them their best chance. Like you said, it's hindsight. I don't know, but now looking at it, they're probably a club that it was their time to go down. I think the Premier League possibly. But let's go back to Leeds. Leeds have been awful, and Everton, they've been awful. But they're full of flamboyant players, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Their tactics might be horrific, and they might be good banter clubs, but they're full of players that you think are quite entertaining. They're going to have a go. A few Mavericks. Burnley
ain't got that.
Burnley just, I was going to say mid-90s, but I think that's giving the mid-90s a injustice. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, where does that team belong?
I don't know, and I don't think we see them gracing the pitches of the Etihad and the and Anfield for quite a while now, because I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to come back up. Corey, hope you are well, mate. Moving on, right? Let's move up the table into the Conference and Europa League battle. Then let's start off on the South Coast, where we saw Brighton beat the Hammers yesterday 3-1. It was a disappointing, despondent, and very tired performance from us yesterday. Really gutted that we couldn't do it, but we just don't beat Burnley. We haven't beat them in the Premier Leagues or the First Division since 1920 something. It's stupid. Absolutely stupid. We just cannot beat this side for love nor money. We went 1-0 up, and for the first time in his West Ham career, Mikel Antonio scored from outside the box, and what a goal it was. Hats off to him, but apart from that, didn't think he was great. And then we go in half time. I look down at the away end, everybody's going, oh, because Palace have scored. Everything's going well. It couldn't have been going better. We're winning. United are losing. We're in sixth spot. We come out for the second half. Just didn't wake up at all. That whole second half, I thought we were sleeping. We were poor. I didn't think we were particularly good in the first half, but the second half we came out and we were just, we didn't deserve anything from the game, and we didn't get anything from the game. Brighton scored 3 goals, fair play to them, and we had a send off for Mark Noble. Probably not what we wanted. We're definitely not what we all wanted for Mr. West Ham to send off on, but we've got European football. We've got the Conference League, which we're all going to take now. And I know what Shaun's going to say in a minute. Oh, you laughed at me for that last year, but to be fair, we're not even in this conference thing. We've got to go through playoffs and all this rubbish in August, but hey ho, it'll be a laugh. We've got some sort of European football at some point next season, and I think that's a credit to us. And disappointing news come out today, actually, that Stuart Pearce, one of our vital members of the backroom staff, has decided to step down. It's a big summer ahead now because David Moyes has got to do it. His post-match press conference, if you haven't seen it, he was livid with the players, but I think some of that's brought on himself without signing anybody in January. He's got a big summer ahead of him, and I hope that he's got this shortlist ready and he's ready to go bang, 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 bang. West Ham, come. And we've got these players in. Shaun?
I won't slate you for the conference because I actually think it's still a good achievement for West Ham. I think you're right to slate Tottenham last year because it's not, with all due respect, it wasn't good enough for Tottenham dropping that down the league where we've been in the last however many years. I think I've seen don't want to get on the Tottenham. I think I've seen a thing with we had Champions League 4 years in a row, missed 2 years, and then we come back. The 2 years we missed when Mourinho was there. So it's good for West Ham. I do wonder. Obviously now, I think you probably even yourself, you wonder what the future brings. The summer, next season, you're seeing obviously United now going to chuck another couple 100 million at it. Newcastle coming strong. I think Arsenal will spend big. Leicester, I don't think they'll be happy with the 8th, 9th in the end. Do you know what I mean? So I just wonder, especially with this conference, whether you might just see West Ham just dip down again. Do you know what I mean? You might have to have a dip down for a couple of years before you maybe have another go at it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this London Stadium and hope bring in a lot more revenue than it has so far. I don't know. I think
just 2 seconds, Shaun, just 2 seconds. We're just going to say hello to our good friend in the chat. Dan, I hope you are. Just popping in before I go on 2 shows tonight. Keep up the good work, Jake, and I hope you're both well.
Hello, mate.
I'd ask whether you're well, Dan, but I know what the answer's going to be. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Hopefully we see you again in a couple of seasons back in the Premier League, but we do feel for you. We do feel for you. Thanks for coming in, Dan. And hey ho, we might draw you in the FA Cup, and that'll be
an away game you avoid.
A perfect moment to go on, let's ring up Dan, let's get him on. I haven't seen him for a while, but no, cheers mate, thanks very much, keep in touch. Go on, sorry, just before
I think you're not daft. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of teams going to chuck a lot. You were saying, hope Moyes has chosen who he wants to go bam bam. There's about 5 or 6 teams that are going to do the same, and there's probably got 2 or 3 of them at least. Probably maybe got a bit more money. Do you know what I mean? So I think you got to enjoy this year. I'm not could be totally wrong. I'm not sure. It's a long way off. I'm not going to happen. I'm not sure you're going to get one of these European spots next year by the league position, because I think there's going to be a few teams not happy with how they finished. So yeah, it's good for West Ham to get the European spot. I do wonder. By the way, where is Noble going now? Because he's not retiring, is he? He hasn't announced anything yet.
Well, what he said last week is he wants to kind of go down into some sort of grassroots football, but I don't think he's going to sign for another professional club again. He has said he owes some time now to his family and his children, so he won't go. He won't go anywhere else.
Obviously, he's a local lad, he's not far from Cannon Town. He's from, is it?
Yeah.
Isn't there like a what's your League One or League Two sort of equivalent down around that area ish? But
well, you got Dagenham and Redbridge, who were kind of Dagenham and Redbridge, who are kind of, I don't know, National League, League Two or something like that. But I can't see him going anywhere else like that. I think he's just gonna sit in the background for a couple of years, and he might come into a job behind the scenes in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like I said, he hasn't announced that, has he? But yeah, I just think the conference, I suppose, do you think they will approach it full throttle, West Ham?
I think we've got to. David Moyes has said that the players almost weren't good enough, and we don't deserve that European football. And he's got a lot more building than he thought he needed this summer, which I think is a bit strange because we all knew we need a rebuild this summer anyway. But I think we've got to, because we said at the start of the Europa campaign last year it'd be a dream to get anywhere near the semi-final or the final. I think we've got a realistic chance to get far in this competition. If we can get past the stupid teams in the qualifiers and group stage, I think we go far in this competition. I think
I said to you quite a few times over the last year or so, I think one of West Ham's best qualities is they got David Moyes there. However, I think he's going to be always going to be one of the ones that might hold you back as well. Like I've compared you to Everton with Moyes a few times. Gotten to that point, and maybe it's a little bit like, it's not the same way Bielsa, he's stubborn. I think Moyes is obviously very stubborn. He likes his 11. However, I think what might hold West Ham back, and this might even be something in 80 months' time what the owners look at. I don't know, because owners, even though they get happy with a manager, when they get to a point and they think, right, he's not changing, I just think Moyes' style, I'm not saying you're boring to watch, but I think he's got quite an old style of setting a team up.
I think he loves his defence to be good. He loves this kind of Craig Dawson old school kind of player. He loves his thin squad, which I think is which I hope he's gonna get that out of his system, because we're gonna have about 5 or 6 players leaving this summer.
Yeah, I just wonder whether he's done brilliant for the team and the club, but the owners get greedy for success. And I'm not saying yet, but when I watch West Ham play, and I've watched as many games as I can this year, they are a bit of a throwback team. Obviously, Moyes is one of the older dogs in the managers now. He's one of the old heads. He's a Scottish manager, so he's going to be this bit of old school style.
And he is stubborn.
Like a lot of teams now, I don't really think you've got what you'd call a fashionable ball playing centre half. Do you know what I mean? The ones that can come out, do a little mini Cruyff turn, spray it. The top, maybe the fancy coach, they want one of them. Although Rice had a very good season, I do think Moyes has got the shackles on him. Do you know what I mean? So I'd like, for your sake in West Ham, I'd like to see him maybe just think, right, I've took West Ham as far as I can now. There's a risk these other teams are coming. I need to just change it up. Even if it's just to be a bit braver, maybe sign a proper defensive midfielder, and then have two more attacking midfielders who can do what they want in front.
But I think if we sit here in 2 months' time when we are halfway through this transfer window, and we can see, because it's either going to go one or two ways. We're going to sign the bare minimum, or we're going to go out and do and act like we did towards the back end of the January transfer window and start bidding for players that probably are a bit out of our league. Calvin Phillips, maybe. It doesn't now help that Leeds have stayed up, but again, a player like Calvin Phillips and these Darwin Núñez bids that were going in, flying, and.
But again, I just think that those names, good players, obviously. if you telling me now, I'm thinking straight away, Moyes is going to carry on playing the same style. Because let's go back to the Euros and that with England, Phillips and Rice pivot, it was great, but then all the time people were saying we need to get one off and be more attacking. Do you remember?
Mm.
And I just think Moyes almost sets West Ham up a bit like Southgate does England at sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's similarities. Like you got your Souček and your Rice pivot. They're both covering lots of ground, but then neither of them they're both good, but they're not given the license to be as creative as one of them maybe could be. Do you know what I mean?
And as well, I think it's unpopular, but towards the back end of the season, I thought Lanzini's become very ineffective as well. Yesterday he did okay. If we sign an attacking midfielder, I'm not saying we sign Coutinho because he's down to Villa now, but a big name attacking midfielder, perhaps something like that.
Would you? He might not go because of obviously the rivalry contact. But I've read that 3 Prem clubs are trying to get Eriksen. Would you check your name club in the hat for that one?
To be fair, I think David Moyes would go for a player like that. Let's take some comments. Luke, evening, ladies. Evening. How was the hospitality and prawn sandwiches at Brighton? It was lovely. Walked in there and there weren't no beer being chucked everywhere, and let's all have a disco. As much as I love that kind of thing, it was all sit down in a nice lounge and carpeted, and I was like, what's going on here? Luke said Brighton turned into Brazil in 1970 against us. To be fair, I know it's a joke, Luke, but they really don't. We just seem to be poor every time we play them, and it's a curse. Osborne, Grant, hope you well. Where was the West Ham that played against Man City? Also, Moyes' tactics. There were no game changers on the bench. Exactly. Now, I looked at the bench yesterday and I laughed. I did laugh. I look at it, and we've got, I think it was 2 keepers on the bench: Diop, Crow, Masuaku, Fredericks, Yarmolenko, and Okoflex, because there was no Vlasic. I don't know what was wrong with him, and Ben Rama wasn't quite fit enough. Oh, we had nobody to bring on. They were bringing subs on, a Lamptey or whatever, and we waited until we went 2 or 3-1 down to start bringing subs on, and they were rubbish. And if Yarmolenko, Johnson, these players, they couldn't do it, and that's where we so need to get better next season. We've got to sign these players. Luke says at least Hampshire stuffed some jokers in the cricket. Yeah, I saw that. 10 wickets. Very funny, Luke. Very funny. Gary says easier game in the conference. We can play the second team for most of it. So strong team in the Prem. Watch out, Shaun. We're coming for you. To be fair, Gary, I'm not quite as confident as you are there, but let's just get through these qualifiers and group stage first, because I think this isn't going to be a walkover competition. There are some decent sides in here, and I just don't want to be embarrassed by a stupid Romanian team or something like that, Slovakian team. Let's get through these games, because I just got a bad feeling about them. Peter says, is it written in the stars we'll get Villarreal in the playoff game before the group stage? God knows who we'll get, but probably we'll get either a team that nobody's ever heard of, like you had last year, Shaun, or a very good team, and we're like, oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Gary says, I would put Noble in the backroom staff now and let him do his badges whilst he's there. I don't think he'll do it yet, to be fair, Gary. I think he wants to spend some time with his family, but in a couple of years, maybe. WC58 says, I'm not sure trying to win the conference compared to Europa is going to be easy. It equals more matches and not much difference in quality at the higher end. I'm inclined to agree, to be honest with you. I'm inclined to agree. Here we go. Right.
Who's in the final? Is it Roma and
is it Feyenoord?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You could argue that final is as strong as the Europa League final, really.
Well, exactly. Right. Let's have some Spurs bashing, shall we? Conte will leave next season. I think he will leave if you get knocked out of the group stage of the Champions League early and you go down to the Europa League. I think he will leave. Happy Hammerat, evening, chaps. Hope you are well. Peter as well. 2 goalkeepers on that bench. Woo! Might as well have put Areola and Randolph up front. We went down with in the end. I don't care if we lost 6-1. It means nothing to the season. Let's just chuck all of them on. Chuck the youngster on. Give him half hour at the end. Just go for it. We had nothing to lose whatsoever. Nothing to lose. But moving on, we got a bit sidetracked there. The team that did get Europa League and completely undeserved, flipping Manchester United, and they still lost. Crystal Palace did their job, we didn't. Come on, Shaun.
I didn't. I'll be honest. I haven't seen the goal. I didn't really follow the game. It was just a bit of probably just a typical United sort of nothing sort of effort. But with United, obviously a new manager got announced officially today. Did he at a press conference or something like that? I didn't see it, but I heard that apparently he hasn't got the most amount of personality in his voice. Brought back Steve McLaren. Obviously, he's the assistant boss. I think he was Fergie's last assistant. I know they've had a bit of a clear out on the board. So they'll be, as they are every year, they'll be open. They'll probably spend another probably 150 million or so on it. I don't know. We'll just see what happens to him. I think Cavani, he's now been released. I think as his contract ran out. Apparently he was it's come out now. I read before we come on. Some journalist claims he's been unhappy ever since Ronaldo come because he had to give up his number 7 shirt. So he's been sulking about that. Hated the Manchester weather, that it was dark at 3:00 every night. So yeah, I don't know. I think United again they'd be very stupid if they plough the same field with their transfer policy. I think when they stop winning the league and stop challenging for the Champions League, even stop qualifying for it, as you know, they've just chucked fortunes at names. If he's available, we'll chuck 300 grand a week at him. That brings egos, and it just hasn't worked. And their 2 biggest rivals in the game are just mopping up all the trophies. It's gone a bit unnoticed, but United ended the season with a 0 goal difference. Now that is appalling, and it hasn't happened in the Premier League era before. They've always had plus something. This is probably the worst it's got from. So they need a big rethink how they're doing it. Like I said, their 2 biggest rivals are mopping up all the trophies. As we speak, Man City are having a parade through the city. The United fans will admit it is humiliating for United. Okay, forget all the other teams like our 2 teams and the rest. Let's not worry about them because United fans traditionally haven't worried about anyone apart from, well, mainly Liverpool, Chelsea a little bit, but City and Liverpool are their rivals, and they've took everything. And United haven't looked close to getting anything at all. So, and bear in mind the couple of the main reasons why City and Liverpool have mopped up in the last 3, 4, 5 years is because, one, obviously world-class coaches, but brilliant recruitment as well. I know they've spent city money, but United have got that city money. But the likes of Liverpool, they scout a player out. They signed that Carvalho from Fulham today. He'll be quality. They got that Diaz in January, just scouted him, bought him, quality.
Superb. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you look.
The thing that makes me laugh is I don't know the stat, but over the last 5 years, I would like to know the difference of how much Man United have spent compared to Manchester City. I really would, because if they would have spent their money wisely, the funny thing is they'd probably be up there.
Yeah. That's just it. Like they need a rethink. I don't know. I think that they've had issues on the board, but it's just like it's like they've gone on Twitter to buy the players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And Sancho done nothing. Yeah,
and I think whoever's buying these players, it's almost like they got obsessed with signings. Like Ronaldo become available. I get that he's a bit of a cult hero at United. Get that, but then it was like Sancho. He was the next big English thing for a while, wasn't it? When he's at Dortmund. Yeah. So we got to get him, because as soon as like Man City get linked to him, but Man City just happy to let him take these players. And Man City, they do like a proper scouting mission.
They live up to the hype, though. Man United, they say, the hype about this player, They live up to the hype, and then all of a sudden they sign these players, but
we can go back. We go back even not even that recent. When did Pogba come back? Pogba fell out with Fergie because he wanted more game time when he was about 20, I think. Went to Juve on a free, and United bought him back for 95 million. Right, and this summer looks like he's going back to Juve again for free. And in the meantime, I think he's been on about 250 plus a week. Do you know what I mean? I think whilst he's been there, I think he might have won. Did you win the FA Cup? He's won the Europa League anyway. Do you know what I mean? Whose idea is that? Where's the thought behind? It's almost like, right, we only know 5 footballers. That we got to pick one of them. That's how it seems like. That's how far their scouting net goes. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Like, keep going back to my club. We're lucky we got this Parasiki come in, our director of football. He's got know-how in the game. Okay, you haven't got to spend a shed load of money, and there's also deals to be done. As I've said to you before, this loan to buy thing's coming now. All right, so there's different ways of buying players. You can buy players. I think it's come out now that we bought a player 2 summers ago, and in the agreement was we didn't have to pay for him for 3 summers time. So
you know, when a £30 million price has put on, very rarely clubs pay £30 million over instalments over years, and there's these little loopholes in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, United.
I don't.
Just so flipping annoyed they finished
If you're a
above us.
professional footballer and you've been around, say, won a couple of Champions Leagues, you've hit about 30, your contract's winding down, your agent's probably going to say to you, look, just sit it out. Like, so United will probably come in for you. So, do you know what I mean? That's because they got the money. Just like Varane might come good. He's another example. He's been a world-class centre-back in his time, run his contract down. I think, did they get him on a free or look for only a few quid, put him on big wages? And his first season, he's been in and out injured, but he didn't deliver. It's as black and white as that. He didn't deliver. Come with the reputation. They come with the reputation. They got the wage. He just didn't do it. And it's as simple as that. You can't dress it up any more than that. It's poor scouting. And I think United can become a bit of a holiday camp as well. Even you could even say Fernandes that he hadn't turned up this year. No. Whether he's now not the top Portuguese player there or not, I don't know what it is, but
they all honestly, they all checked out about 3 months ago. All of them, they're like, yeah, on the beach, flip flops out, and Corey says here, Ten Hag isn't the type of manager to buy big names. He likes to build teams from scratch, and that's what Ajax fans have said. You've got to stick by him because he won't change it like that. It will be, in the famous words of the Arsenal fans, a process.
Well, because that's what United need. United do need that. Like United fans, even though they've been struggling, not all of them, but a lot of them still. What I'm saying, they still don't see the sensible approach, because when you're spoilt for trophies for 25 years, it's like a drug in your body. You can't let go. Like I was chatting to one last night, and I was trying to play Ten Hag down. Don't forget, he was one of the ones that Tottenham looked at last summer and dismissed. He was willing to talk to Tottenham, and we were like, no, we want Poch or Conte. Obviously, both of them didn't come, and the wheels fell off. But he was one that was there available. Wait, he would have come, and Graham Potter, they'd have both come. But because we dragged our heels, rightfully so, they said, right, no thanks. If you don't want me that much, I'll crack on. But they need United, since Fergie retired, have been all about, right, we need success next season. And I was
let's buy ourselves to success in a really poor way.
Yeah, I was chatting to a United fan. He's one of the more difficult ones to talk to get sense into his head. And I said, right, that Europa League, that probably that you could do well in that. That'd be one of your best chances for Champions League the following year. And then you build and build. And it was like, oh no, we definitely got to get top 4 next year. And then I thought, that's going to be very difficult as it stands at the moment. Obviously, a lot can change. Managers can go. People can get bought. But as it stands, I think that's very, very tough for them. So whether they're going to give that's just one fan. Are they going to give a manager time to get this process in place?
The thing is with United, they don't do that. They want instant success. They'll be looking at January, and if they're not in the top 4, it'll be Ten Hag out, this and that and the other. And Peter says here, Ten Hag will be out within 18 months, because I don't think United will stick, and the fans will stick with building a process. Let's scroll up and take some more of your comments. Sancho, total waste of money. Peter says Liverpool and Man City will go further ahead next season with 5 subs allowed. Yeah, that's just completely worked into their hands. That Carrick is available. How good is he? Yeah, to replace Stuart Pearce, I take him every day of the week, to be honest with you. Michael Carrick, of course, former West Ham man. Good shout, David. Luke says they signed Sancho and didn't play him. What's the point? Another 75 million down the drain. He's looked good in patches, but not really good enough, I don't think. Happy Hammeret says, wasn't it a surprise that Foden and De Bruyne got young player and player of the season? You could have predicted it before, because it wasn't going to be anybody else, was it? You knew it was going to be Foden, and you knew it was going to be De Bruyne. No matter how good or bad De Bruyne has been this year, that's up to you. He scored 4 goals in 20 minutes, so give him the player of the season. But hey ho. WHU58 says we need to scout the lower leagues in European football and then continue with a wage structure that's progressive based upon performances and results. It is going to be interesting to see what David Moyes does, to be honest with you. But let's move on. Let's talk about the Spuds for a bit. Then we're not going to talk about Arsenal because they won 5-1 and it's irrelevant. But we scored 4, you scored 5, Norwich 0, Spurs 5. Quickly give us a little roundup of that, Shaun. You're in the Champions League.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were praying that Tottenham are going to go Spursy and that somehow mess it up. We only needed a draw, but obviously under Conte, it's a different animal, to be honest. A very professional job. I think one of the first things he said when he come in, and he remember when Tottenham had a few iffy results. I think we drew 1 or 2 or lost a few. Not putting games to bed, like we were 1-0 up. He demands once a game. 1-0 up's not enough. He demands that you go 2-3, and then you might notice he'll just shut down the game. So he wants you to get to that point where the game's killed. Like you go 1-0 up, he's not. When they get the first goal, Top, you don't really see him jump about on the sideline. He's a very animated coach. You go 1-0 up, you rarely see it. The second one goes in. Because we have Conte cam, I don't know if you get that here at West Ham, but because he's so animated, we get one of the joke he released of the week, Conte cam, because he's up and down like a jack in the box. I think it sums him up against the Arsenal game. We went 1-0 up, and he just turned around and went back to the dugout. He celebrated Arsenal getting a man sent off like goal. He was like, he knew then. He's an elite coach. Okay, Tottenham are only where they are because of him. I think it's the other week about this time of the season. It's about momentum. I think we won 10 out of the last 14 games, drawing 2 of the others. I think since he come in, I think he's got 54 points, which is only second to Man City and Liverpool. He's an elite coach. I put him on par with Klopp and Guardiola's that level. That's where I do put him. I think he is he's a tactical master. But everyone now will have a little wet the bed. Is he going to go? Is he going to stay moment? Do you know what I mean? Because he is demanding. He might not stay long. He is demanding. It's down to the club. The press absolutely love Tottenham. They love writing about them. It's just it's a merry-go-round at Tottenham. It's sometimes in there. They can have a field day with a story. So they're like, it's just a nonsense to start. There's even the same journalists are even contradicting themselves. I think it's Matt Law at the Telegraph. Do you follow him or not, Matt Law?
Oh, he's a bag. He is.
He wrote a couple of quotes in the same story. One was that Conte's on holiday and he's yet to even speak to Levy and Paratici about the targets in the future. And then in the same paragraph, he wrote about 6 players who Conte wants. So I'm like, are you his best mate? But they've got to back him. They'll have Levy's head if he don't back him. I think 4th is an outstanding achievement for where he's 9th when we took over. I think we were like 7 points away from 4th at one point. But 4th isn't good enough for a coach like Conte. When I said I put him in line with Pep and Klopp, I mean it. That's why 4th is not good enough. He's an unpredictable coach, so it's hard to second guess him. I'm going to say he'll stay because I think he's got everything he would want. Obviously, I don't need to tell you about the facilities and the crowd. The crowd love him. Everything's there in place. The players absolutely love him. He's got his mate as a director of football. I think he looks like he really loves it. But if he's not back, eventually he will walk. But I don't think there's a club around Europe where I don't think he wants to be at football long. He's not one of them. Do you know what I mean? If he's going to go, he's going to be looking straight away. I'm looking around Europe. I don't really see any big jobs that would interest him that much.
PSG?
I don't think, no. I've always discounted the PSG job. I don't think he's too driven for the French league, in my opinion. And you said about the Champions League, Conte hasn't got a great record in the Champions League.
He hasn't, no.
So you said if Tottenham go out of the group stage, I don't think that would matter. That won't matter. Conte won't jack it in. What will make Conte jack in? If you go jack it in at some point, I think we all know that. If he agrees to stay and he won't get everything he wants this summer because he'll never be fully happy. So if he gets 5 or 6 players, which apparently he wants, if he gets 5 or 6 players, he will stay and he'll try and build us. He'll probably want 1 or 2 in January. Probably get the next summer where he wants another 100 million. Do you know what I mean? Because he wants
He's
to be
persistent. He needs it. He wants it.
He wants to win the league. That is as simple as that. Tottenham, I'll be surprised if they meet his ambitions enough, but the last three players who've bought in the last year, I think, have been very good. Bentancur's a good midfielder. I think Kulusevski is very, very good, and he's only 22, and he can be something special. You laughed at me when I called it early in the season when I said I thought Tottenham had 3 or 4 world-class players, and I stand by that. I think Lloris is getting on, but he's still top 5 keeper in the league. I think he's 3rd in the Golden Glove. I think it's one of his best seasons he's had in a long time as well.
You've got 2 world-class players, Shaun. That's it.
Well, if you haven't included Christian Romero, you're going for a shock next year because I put him. Christian Romero, he's had an injury-plagued season, but Christian Romero starts for every single team in the Premier League, and I don't even think that's close. I put Diaz and Van Dijk would start. Obviously, Romero is good enough to start alongside either of those for those players. He comes with a high reputation. He genuinely, and I've put Argentina as one of the favourites to win the World Cup partly because of him. I think he is the real deal. We shouldn't have him. He shouldn't be at Tottenham. The only reason we've got him is because Paratici's know-how, and he signed him at Juve, and he was part of the deal which loaned him to Atalanta on this buy to loan clause. So he knew the exact dodgy deal we could get him on. If we can get Romero fit, add a few more wing backs, then I think we're good enough for 3rd next year if all goes to plan. That's my opinion.
Let's move on to the title race then. Let's speed through this. So, Man City 3, Aston Villa 2. They didn't make it easy for themselves at the Etihad, did they, Shaun?
No, Man City were very much like they were against your lot in the first half. Very much like it. I made the mistake to my mates. I texted them, I don't see Man City coming back from this. I made the mistake. The first half, they were very sloppy, very sluggish. For all the money that Man City have got, they had to start 37-year-old Fernandinho out of position at centre-back. Ollie Watkins had a shocking game. Even Villa fans will say it. But the first half, he'd run Fernandinho ragged. And then you had John Stones playing at right back, who's a centre back. So for all the money they've spent on players and all, I know I think Walker's still struggling. He got injured in the Champions League semi-final, didn't he? But yeah, they made hard work of it, and Villa deserved the goals. I read a few like Villa fan forums. A lot of them still not convinced by Gerrard that he's the right man. They almost blamed him for it for the subs. I think they took off Coutinho, who, to be honest, I don't know. I know they just bought him, but he can't seem to play 2 games in a row. He runs out of legs after about an hour and a bit. And they took off was it Jacob Ramsey? They've got the other midfielder. Jacob. He was one of their better players as well. So they took those 2 off, and then all the wheels fell off. Mm-hmm. And I think Man City got a little bit lucky as well because I think it was the Rodri goal. Did he score first of the second?
Yeah, second. Yeah.
Their first team keeper saves that all day long. Do you know what I mean? They brought in that keeper that made his Premier League debut. It was like a worm burner from 25 yards. It didn't even.
It kind of trickled its way through.
Martinez saves that every single day of the week. So Liverpool were hoping for this favour from Gerrard. I think he gave Man City a hand in the end, really, with some of his decision making. But yeah, City champions. They're going to add Haaland to it, like the likes of.
The scare, innit?
The thing is, the likes of us, the Chelsea want to be better. United have dreamy heights. Arsenal, West Ham. We're all right. How do we catch Man City and Liverpool? And then they just go. Well, Man City haven't even got a scout for Haaland. They just got to chuck the money at it. And then Man City and Liverpool just strengthen a little bit better than everyone else. So we'll all strengthen, but then they'll just strengthen a little bit better. So, yeah.
It is what it is. Hey, Man City will be a more dominant force next season. I think they have been this year. To be fair, they haven't been flawless this year. They've had some poor games, and it's not just down to Liverpool that they've clawed back this title race and took it down to the final day. It's been Man City as well.
I've heard other people say it, but I think this as well. I think I've seen less of Liverpool, but a lot of their fans telling me they're tired, Liverpool. And I think the last few games, only the last 2 games, I think Man City have looked leggy as well against you and Villa. I think the lines come just about right for both of these sides. Do you know what I mean? I think whether Liverpool can get over the line versus Real Madrid, probably can. I think Man City, you don't get away with going 2-0 down and being very lethargic for 45 minutes many times. Do you know what I mean? Like, to be honest, I thought Man City come into it very well against you last week in the second half. That you were backs against the wall. I didn't even think that Villa had that. I think I don't know what time they got the first, but I think we were on like about 65 minutes. And I was watching it thinking, Man City have got to get going soon.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's one that their first keeper definitely a save. De Bruyne, it's so deft balls where he just whips it around the back for a tap in. I think one was a header. But that's Villa. I think Villa, Gerrard, it's not his team, but I don't know how he's going to, what he wants to build there. And if the fans aren't sure.
It's so strange with Villa because they brought all these players in, bosh, and then they could work for a bit, and then this happens, and then that happens. They've signed Coutinho on a permanent, and like you said earlier, Villa fans aren't all convinced by Gerrard. But let's take some of your comments then. So glad Liverpool didn't win the title. I think we all are. Man City fans bang out of all. That's one thing we haven't mentioned as well with that pitch invasion. I understand the pitch invasion, but attacking goalkeepers, attacking players, and all that, it's just flipping stupid. Just as there's completely no need for it whatsoever. And I think football fans have got worse after lockdown, to be honest with you, as well, with fighting and the trouble and this and that and everywhere. It has got worse. It's like a herd of chickens or something, or something a bit more violent than that. Have been locked in and haven't been able to go to football for 18 months, and they've come out bigger and better than ever, wanted to go back and flipping fighting everyone, and it's just not called for. They can't actually officially get Haaland until the 1st of July, but isn't it all pretty much done? We all know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hammerat says, did you see the moment when Son realised he wasn't winning the Golden Boot by himself? Love it. Peter says, love it if Madrid knock Liverpool out on penalties. That will be funny. Yeah, we will be doing a watch along for the Champions League final on Saturday night. Up the Madrid.
I got a question for the West Ham fans.
Oh, come on then.
Well, obviously you lot don't like Tottenham whatsoever, but everyone loves Heung-min Son, don't they? Do you? Is he's probably the most loved player in the Premier League? If he's not on your team, you gotta love Son.
Yes, yeah. You know, there's no doubt in he is a very good player. You know, I've watched. Yeah, right. Hang on. I think he's a very good player. I think he's the most lovable player in the Premier League. Is a bit too far, if I'm honest with you, Sean. I don't think everybody loves him. Yeah, I get incredibly frustrated because every time we play he skins Creswell completely, and I don't think he's loved by fan bases, to be honest with you. I think that's all you Spurs lot living in your little Spurs bubble, thinking he's this and that and he's the other. He's a very good player, yeah, but he's not loved by.
I was meaning more his character and the more his sort of way he goes about it, smile on his face. There's not many players. Obviously, zero arrogance. There's not many of them about. That's why I think, like all when you watch the highlight shows, everyone just.
I tell you what, though, Sean. I tell you what, everybody loves him for when Zuma just knocked the ball to him and he fell over like he's just been hit by a shotgun.
Oh, that's the point. I don't want to go back on West Ham, but if Zuma's been charged 3 cases by this kicking the cat thing now, hasn't he? So,
that's it. Put it all back on Zuma when Son just flopped to the floor for no reason.
So what are we? What West Ham doing now then? If he's been found guilty, he's been charged. So he'll go.
Well, let's be honest. He hasn't actually been found guilty yet because the trial isn't till tomorrow. So we don't know for sure yet. But I don't know. Well,
thing is, if they are good, it's convenient timing because now the season's over. You can hit him for what you want, and then he's back in August in pre-season. Yeah. So, but yeah, moving on.
We won't talk about Liverpool. I can't be bothered. They're going to get stuffed on Saturday night in the Champions League final. Can't wait for that. But very good comment, Sharky. Go on. Read that out, Sean. The
Why is
first
he?
and the second bit.
Why is he a pleb? What I think what they were saying on Talks was because he's from South Korea. I think they're brought up to be so appreciative of life there, like embedded in their culture. So they kind of, that's what Simon Jordan was saying. He sort of said that's why he's got this, the more sort of, he plays like it's his dream come true a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
good player and all about it, but I think that's Spurs living in their own little bubble as
so
well.
West Ham, you won't admit that he's like a player that you love to hate a little bit. Then you don't have a love-hate relationship with him.
Well, I don't love any players that don't play for West Ham because they're very good players. They are. He is a very good player, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I love him.
He's a nice guy of football, isn't he?
Hey, there we go. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. Won't talk about them lot. There we go, another season done. Thanks everybody for watching the Premier League Roundup show this season. I'd like to say thank you to you, Shaun.
No worries, mate. Same to you. Thanks for having me on.
And of course, we've got to say thanks to Josh as well for coming on, and anybody else that has helped out on the Premier League Roundup show this year. We've had some debates, but one thing we haven't mentioned is Mike Dean blew for the final time his last final whistle, as did Martin Atkinson and John Moss, as the revolution of referees for next season comes in. The famous 3 are gone. Will that mean a change to refereeing decisions? Who knows?
We shouldn't be ageist, really, should we? Obviously. But at least 2 of those have looked like they've been struggling to get around the pitch for a couple of seasons. And I know we can't be ageist, but I think maybe they need a bit of a rethink in that direction. I know they've got I know a while ago when they did the referees course, they've been trying to push the minorities through and that. They have fast tracked a few of it. And I'm sure we'll see a female referee in no time at all in the Premier League. But how old were they? Into their 50s? I'm guessing.
Oh, they've got to be Mike Dean. But,
John Moss, though, do you know what I mean?
He potted around, didn't he?
He reminded me of a Sunday League sort of ref. They need you just need some sharper minds and bodies on the pitch. And I don't care if they pass their fitness test at the beginning of every season.
It's free, Mike Dean. It's flipping out.
I know they
play to him.
I know they've got to pass their fitness test at the beginning of the season, but that's almost like a glorified bleep test. That's not charging around following a game of football in the Premier League, which is look how fast a team can counter. Do you know? Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Luke disagrees, but I do agree with this. We need ex-players to be refs. Not as much refs, I don't think refs, but I think for them to sit in the VAR room, I think is something 100% that should be done. Yeah. Because these people that sit with their popcorn and their pint of Carlin sitting down, let's bring the lines out on this. Absolute rubbish. Let's put a defender and let's put a former striker into those VAR games, VAR offices for every game.
I agree with you, to be honest. With the decision making in VAR, it's spot on because it's isolated single incidents. Do you know what I mean? So an ex-player can say, right, I can see what he's trying to do there because he can put himself in a position. Thing is with refs, most refs they learn a different aspect of the game and they've been training to be a ref. A lot of them probably from about your age, Jake. Do you know what I mean? So it's a long, drawn-out process, and they get help with the mentors. I've done a course myself, so I know what it entails. But so you learn a different side of the game. It's also like I'm sure a lot of your listeners have played the game, blah blah blah. So they played. You go and do a coaching course with the Jeffrey put on. I played football for 25 years for all sorts of levels, mainly all around the county sort of level. You go and do a coaching course, even the bottom rung. It's eye-opening. You're like, wow, that is the most simplest training drill. And then you think, why didn't I do that? Why wasn't I coached that? Honestly, it's some of the simplest things. And you think, oh, that is really good. And
Is a comment. Gates says, why would the next Premier League player on tens of hundreds of thousands, or would you get 70 grand a year to be officiated and being told they're always wrong? But for pundits and for ex-players that are always slating VAR, well, at the Premier League, so when you come in and do a course, and then you could sit in VAR every week, and then you're not moaning.
I don't think it'd be. obviously because of the money does come into it, they'd rather sit in the studio in the warm or go off worrying about their 10 houses that are rented out. Do you know what I mean? They don't need to be refs. But when you think in the lower leagues, maybe they could just trying to keep people in the game, because the amount of people that just get washed up and they're gone. But again, going back to the coaching and the refereeing, they're trained to be referees from teenage age. Do you know what I mean? The likes of John Moss, I'd imagine. I bet he would have started when he's like probably a teenager. You're brought up into viewing a different side of the game. So just getting you can't just pluck a 35-year-old out and say, "Do you want to be a ref?" I assure you, they'll be worse than the rest, miles worse. Even something tiny like where you stand, because you're supposed to stand almost like in a triangle from the players, the ball, and all that. You don't have that as a player, so it is a very, very different aspect of the game. But I agree with the VAR because they're literally viewing one minor thing. So, but yeah. I don't see it work. I think you do need to train for a very long time to be a ref.
Yeah. Final question. Any guesses who our next sponsor will be when Betway sod off? Yeah, Kit Kat. Kit Kat will be our sponsors next year, with Zoomer on the back. Bowen and Attack. West Ham will win the Conference League. Yeah, that went in quite nicely. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. That's the Premier League roundup show done for, I was going to say another week, another season done. And now we talk about transfers for about 3 months. Yay. That's, yeah, thanks very much for watching, Shaun and Josh. I know he's not in right now, but thank you very much for your continued support every week on this show.
No worries, mate. See you again soon.
Thanks everybody in the chat for watching and their comments and everything else. From me, come on your minds, whatever them lot do down the lane. And we will catch you later. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. Yeah.